Hello and welcome to One on One with Ralph Thorne, the leader of the opposition. I'm Andrew Seeley. He's my friend, so I call him Ralph.
And
Hello, Ralph.
I call you Andrew. You're my friend too.
That's right.
Long time.
We won't tell anyone how many years.
No, we can't.
But Ralph, you have been involved in law because that's what you studied from the time you left Harrison College, as we were there together.
Yes.
And then you got involved in public service. But now, come 2026, we see a different Ralph Thorne at the helm of an opposition party and being thrust into the forefront of Barbadian politics.
Yes.
Was this supposed to happen, Ralph?
I don't think so. Unplanned, unexpected. But there are a lot of people who tell me it's all about God. I'm beginning to believe them, Andrew. I had no plan for this. This was unscripted, and here I am.
Right, and how do you feel at this stage, as you say, here you are, we're on the threshold of a general election. Ralph Thorne has been thrust into the spotlight. You've been juxtaposed with the Prime Minister, Mia Motley, and your pictures virtually in the newspaper every single day and on social media.
Yes. The juxtaposition doesn't bother me. I've been in law here and overseas for a long time, so I'm not intimidated. What I do feel, Andrew, is a heavy sense of responsibility. Sometimes I'm driving along and I come to my senses and I say, look, I'm in charge of a party. I'm in charge of a party that is trying to win an election. I'm in charge of a party that if it wins an election becomes a government, and that's an awesome responsibility. So it is, sometimes the sense of responsibility visits me and I say, well, I have to meet it. I don't have a choice.
And so, but what motivates you to continue on this path that, as you just outlined, because this hefty responsibility, what's your major motivation at this stage?
I want to live in a world in which there's justice, and that motivates me. In law, that was my pursuit. In politics, that's my pursuit. To occupy a world in which there is some justice. You wouldn't get a world in which everybody is equal, because you'll always have the rich and you will have some who are not rich. But you want to occupy a world in which there's fairness, in which people treat each other well, and everybody has a chance. And that is what motivates me, that sense of justice, that sense that we can be fair towards each other.
And you say fair towards each other. Are you suggesting that Barbados in 2026 is not a fair and just society?
No, it is not. There's a lot of injustice, and you probably expect me to say this, but over the last 7 years, that injustice has deepened, and it has deepened at the level of policy. The government is treating different people differently. Previous governments have tried. You're not going to get the entirely just and fair society, but over the last 7 years, I have observed in the Parliament and by the Parliament laws that disadvantage those of disadvantage, and laws that give advantage to those of advantage.
And how would you say Barbadians are responding to this perception, which you obviously have? Are they agreeing with you with this perception of a lack of fairness and justice in the country?
I think they are. I think they are, Andrew. There's a lot of fear, though. F-E-A-R.
As opposed to F-A-I-R.
Yes, there is a lot of F-E-A-R. And that is interesting. I think it comes from the overwhelming use of power and all that power implies. And power implies the opportunity not only to treat people with disadvantage, but to justify it. And that is the problem. A lot of people feel that the use and abuse of power becomes justified simply because it is exercised by power itself. And that is problematic, always problematic. And we have to fight against it.
And your fight, therefore, as Ralph Thorne, the individual, has been to move around the country. What has the response been like to you, given the F-E-A-R that you are mentioning?
It's interesting, you know, Andrew, it's interesting. I said I did not plan this, but I find I've gained respect over the numbers 29 and 1. I didn't go into it self-consciously, Andrew. I was just there to do a job. I was there to answer legislation and not to oppose it for the sake of opposing it. In fact, there are pieces of legislation with which I agreed, and I said I agreed. But when I opposed it, my opposition was strenuous. And I think people respect the fact that I have stood up, one man in a parliament against 20, well, I should say 28 because there's a speaker who is supposed to be impartial, so I won't include him. But I think people generally respected the fact that I was standing up to 28 people.
But Ralph, the decision obviously to stand up to 28 people obviously was a departure from what Ralph Thorne intended to do perhaps 10 years ago. The personality of Ralph Thorne maybe has changed somewhat because he's become, for want of a better term, a political animal now. I don't think 10 years ago he would have been described as a political animal. Let's talk a bit about Ralph Thorne prior to taking on the massive challenge.
You didn't know me, did you? Andrew, I've always been a political animal.
Okay, maybe a cat as opposed to a wolf.
I just expressed it differently. Look, I've been reading politics and philosophy and sociology for a long, long time. At university, my first area of study was social sciences, which I absolutely love. And I absolutely love it more than law. And I was also reading literature. In the last 20, 25 years, I was reading a lot of literature. So there was a preparation for this. In a sense, there was a preparation for this. And if I may say so myself, I think my speeches have tended to reflect my reading of literature over the years.
Okay, and I agree with you. I mean, as a social scientist myself,
Yes.
some people don't know that, but
I do.
that was my training, believe it or not, and I ended up in this spot.
Yes.
But it perhaps, as you say, it is something that leads you towards that, because when you study social sciences, you hear a lot about inequality.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, in sociology and in politics.
Oh, yes.
And in government. In fact, you hear a lot about inequality, and perhaps it is the challenge of wanting to depart from that inequality that has led you.
Yes. In fact, Andrew, a lot of people have said when you read sociology, when you first read it, you say, look, but I knew this all along. But it is so fascinating that you're seeing in a book, what you experienced in life. And that's the beauty of sociology, that you're there reading what you experience. So sociology and the social sciences are really an experience or an academic experience in your life's experience. You've seen it, you've experienced it, and here you are reading it in a book. And that's so fascinating.
It is, and you've traversed now within the last couple of weeks, I imagine, the entire 11 parishes, the entire 30 constituencies, the entire 166 square miles.
Yes.
Where is Barbados at this juncture? You mentioned FEAR just previously. Where is Barbados at the moment? The 166 square miles that we love to talk so much about whenever we travel and whenever we meet anyone from anywhere else.
There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of doubt. People are wondering how we got to this point. There's the fear, and we keep talking about fear. There's that abiding fear that we are not what we used to be. I mean, you get up on mornings and you just might hear that somebody got killed, got shot in the most violent transaction, not in the dark hours of the previous night, but at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock, when children are crossing the road and going to school. Men are coming into contact with each other and killing them in the most violent way. I mean, you ever heard a gunshot? A gunshot is the most violent thing you would ever hear. And this is happening in Barbados. So a lot of Barbadians are at this point where they're looking back and perhaps they are afraid to look forward because they're wondering, well, what next? So there's that fear, there's that doubt, there's that uncertainty. And then a lot of them are wondering, is my vote related to my future? And if they're cynical, some think not. If they're hopeful, they think yes. And I think we're at that stage. And that is why this election is so important and significant, Andrew. Because for some people, they're wondering whether it will represent that departure from what we are experiencing presently. Everybody knows that we have to experience that departure. They're wondering whether politics will open the door to that departure.
But so you mentioned that there is a lot of uncertainty. Have Barbadians become numb to the whole question of crime? I fear and I feel uncomfortable because I sense that there's a feeling of numbness among a large part of the population.
I wouldn't say numb. A lot of Barbadians are not enjoying life as they used to. They're not going out at night. A lot of people are staying at home. In fact, Andrew, I don't canvass after sundown because I respect people's fear. You go and knock on somebody's house, let's say 6:15, and you become apologetic. An old lady in a house, and she's still hopeful that it is somebody about good business. But you can see the trepidation and the reluctance to come to the door, and they don't wish to be impolite. And I then say, look, it is night, I know what the times are like, and so I won't disturb you. And I say who I am, what I'm about, and promise to come back the next day. So there's not a numbness to it. Barbadians are very much aware of the element of fear that visits them from day to day. The question is, how do we cope with this? Do we wait for the police to do something differently? Do we wait for the political administration to do something differently? Do we hope that our churches and our spiritual engagements will transform society? So people are at that stage, that middle ground. What next? They don't know what is next. And even as a politician, I say this, they're wondering whether the political route will bring salvation into their lives of fear and doubt and, you know, all the negatives that visit their daily experience. So it's not numbness. It is fear and it is doubt.
So the question then, therefore, is what difference will Ralph Thorne make?
A politician has a lot of power at his disposal when he is in government. He has the power of the cabinet. He can implement policies from day to day to change the lives of people and to affect crime. He has parliament, and parliament is very important. Some time ago, I was pleading with the government, pass new bail legislation because men are committing murder once, they're getting bail, and they're coming out, Andrew, and they're doing it a second time. Something has to be wrong. Revisit the bail legislation. And the government, they admitted at the time that they were passing a new bail act at my request. But you know what happened, Andrew? The second bail act did very little more than the first, except that it expressed itself in more words, but it did very little more. And people in this country still can get bail as easily as they did before. It may surprise you to hear that. But when you have the law at your disposal, when you have parliament at your disposal, laws that are man-made can be made even more, even more severe, if you want to say that, or even more strict. Let me use the word strict. By the same man that made the previous law. And that is how you use parliament. Use the power that you have. Not abuse, use it. And use it for the benefit of the majority who live in fear, the majority who are victims of crime. Because you don't have to be shocked to be a victim. People like you and I who live in fear of the stray bullet, we're victims too.
And you mentioned victims, and let's talk about that, because a victim is not only an individual who suffered directly at the hands of it. A victim is also someone who sees it now on social media.
Precisely.
Because everybody sees it. We see people entering shops with weapons,
yes.
And to me that is a shock to your system, as unaccustomed as we are to something like that.
Yes, and you and I then wonder, have we gone in that shop before? Are we going to go into that shop tomorrow?
Again, right.
Precisely.
Yes.
So we are constantly in fear. And politicians, if they're in cabinet and if they occupy one of those 30 seats in the House, do have a responsibility. It is not an option. They have a responsibility. It's a duty. It is not an option. It's a duty to ensure that your society is safe. And this argument about it happens in this country and that country, we live in this country. And given the power, we must change the laws to ensure that the majority of citizens in this country are safe. Safety is there.
I think safety is paramount.
That's the word I was looking for. Safety is paramount. And you give a politician the power, use it. If you can't use it, if for one reason you're reluctant to use it, one reason or another you don't wish to use it, I'm sorry. You're not doing your job. You're not meeting your duty. And I'm sorry. I don't think the government has met its duty. There are some who will tell you, well, let us negotiate with crime or let us confront crime. Often we have to decide which course is the appropriate one. the negotiation has probably ended, and it has probably ended with the discredited peace program when they were paying the young men who pledged that they were no longer involved in crime. I think the majority of Barbadians expect the government not to confront in any violent way, not military confrontation, but confront it with a sense of purpose, a sense of seriousness, and the resolve that we cannot continue like this on Sunday mornings. Men are not supposed. When you and I used to be going to church, we never saw it, Andrew. We never saw it. And we belong to that majority of Barbadians who never saw it and will never accept it. You and I will never accept the violence that is going on now. We tolerate it, but we'll never accept it.
And I think we tolerate it because we have no choice at the moment. We're just waiting and hoping for it to come to an end.
Precisely, waiting and hoping. But a government should not wait and hope. As I said, a government has the power. Use it.
Well, Ralph, let's talk a little bit now about something more personal.
Yes.
You have taken on this role, as I mentioned, but you are, like me, a father, a husband,
yes,
a son, a brother,
yes,
an uncle.
Yes.
What has the impact been like for you and your family and your extended family? Because I mean, the attacks are constant. But what's it been like?
Shielding your children from the politics, and
even in the face of social media.
Oh yeah, I spoke to my wife recently, and she said she tries to shield. Look, even though I don't want people to know that I have children and identify them. So you shield them, you keep them away from the public eye because social media is vicious. Social media is very vicious. But apart from that, apart from shielding them, I try to get quality time. And Andrew, you know what my quality time has become? Riding in the car on mornings with my son and talking football with him. He is a Barcelona man. Well, not so much Real Madrid, but I'm an Mbappe man.
Right.
He doesn't like Real Madrid. Kylian Mbappe. But quality time with children, quality time. And that is so important to me because a lot of politicians have lost their children while pursuing this politics. They have lost their families. And I must say to you and to the public, I don't intend to lose my family in this political pursuit. So quality time is important, but protecting them from what we politicians experience. Because if you look at social media too often, or if you listen to the calling programs too often, it could demoralize you precisely because it is intended to demoralize you. So you stay away from it.
I mean, I think we all know by now
yes,
that the calling programs with the 10, I call them about 10 callers.
No more than
they are extremely deliberate.
Yes.
And probably have a script which they have to follow. I mean, I don't think anybody doesn't believe that anymore.
Yes,
I think we know that for sure.
Yes,
so, but it doesn't mean that we don't somehow hear it and take it on, I suppose.
People hear it and come and tell me, so said so today. Sometimes social media, I actually read things and I laugh. I do laugh. You have to learn to laugh at it. I mean, the nickname they've given me, our good friend Georgie Allen was calling me that at school.
That's right. Yeah. Well, as far as and you were at school with him since Wesley Hall. Not over 11, on the 11.
That's right. And George would come around the corner, hey, Ralph Thorne. So it's nothing new. Right. It's my initials.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, Andrew. It doesn't bother me in the least. So if people intend to hurt my feelings with it, they're wasting their time.
And the extended family, I mean, away from your wife and children, the extended family, because I know you have a large family.
Large
Thorne
parents,
family.
Yeah, my two parents had 12 of us. One died early, 11. Another one died as an adult. 10 of us. The moral support is there. That is my moral fortification, and I must include my wife. That is my moral fortification. And apart from that, there's now an even greater extended family. There are a lot of people in the Democratic Labour Party and across Barbados. A medical doctor called me this morning, and I'm not saying medical doctor out of snobbery, but he called me this morning, and that call meant so much to me, Andrew. And he's religious, so that you have these moral fortifications that give justification to what you're doing. It reminds you that you're doing something good. So family, immediate, and then extended, and then good friendships, people who have genuine goodwill towards you. So the moral fortification is there. So the personal assaults, they're wasting their time. Absolutely wasting their time. And as I said, even sometimes I laugh at the things that they write. It is quite funny. If you look at it, you distance yourself from it, Andrew. You look at it objectively, and you can laugh.
And on the converse to that, have you lost some friends because of the decisions that you've made recently and the positions that you've taken?
If this causes you to lose a friend, you haven't lost a friend. I've lost what you call Facebook friends, and that is a nomenclature that means very little. I've had to block a few people because you don't come and insult somebody and then describe yourself as a Facebook friend or a friend. If Facebook intended that it was friendship, well, I'm sorry. In some cases, it cannot work. And it cannot work in cases when people are saying to you, to your face, on Facebook, you're not fit for this. That is a kind of negation, and we read this in sociology. That is a kind of negation of a person. You're denying a person. You're saying, this is not for you. This is for a select group of people. I block them. I block them. That is no friendship. That is no relationship that you ought to continue. That is no relationship that you should sustain, because it is deeply disrespectful. It is saying to somebody to their face, you are not fit. If you're saying that to me, stay away from me. Stay off my page. I'm going to block you.
Right. So, well, and I mean, I'm not a big Facebook man. I mean, to be very honest, so I don't even know if I have Facebook friends.
Yeah, I do it for politics, Andrew. I do it for politics.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, you know, in the scheme of things and the political cut and thrust, as they call it, I mean, the political discussions in Barbados now seem to revolve more around social media than around the nights and campaigning, etc. It's really amazing.
Yes, it
when you go online and you see the amount of people who are actually online watching either one or the other party or the other. So I mean, how has that dynamic changed for you as someone who grew up, as I did, without social media?
Yes. Andrew, a lot of it is entertainment. A chappie will come on Facebook and he's going to put up something so outlandish, maybe gossip. And people love gossip. And it is entertainment. And the number of people who respond to it, either by likes or by comments, and then you'd see somebody say, I'm here for the comments. And that then becomes funny. So it is entertainment. It's a world of entertainment. There are a lot of people who use Facebook to create a new identity, to create a new image. Maybe they're not happy with the image that other people know genuinely. And Facebook offers many people the opportunity to start again, to create this new image, somebody different, somebody acceptable. And I can appreciate that, because nobody wants to go with an old image that they don't like. So that is the redemption that Facebook offers. And Andrew, you see it for what it is. You don't take it as seriously as you should, or as they intend that you should. So a lot of it is false. A lot of it constitutes a very false medium. But it is entertainment for a lot of people.
How do you respond to those as we get back to more politics now, how do you respond to those who say that the Democratic Labour Party does not use social media as well as the ruling Barbados Labour Party? Or do you find it to be a challenge?
Well, I'm not a social media expert. I myself do my little Facebook thing. And somebody told me a few years ago, a politician cannot afford to be modest, because I used to experience things and I would say, but this is showing off. He said, no, man, you gotta show off what you do. Yeah, put it up. So there are some people who pay lots of money to do that. Clearly the Barbados Labour Party has lots more money. It's always had lots more money, so that they can pay these people to, again, create an image that may not be authentic. At the Democratic Labour Party, we try to be authentic. We try to be real, as the young people say. So money is not our thing. Money, if it is related to a dynamic social media presence, well, I'm sorry, we don't have that much money, but we are real. We are authentic.
Well, Ralph, we've been chatting for a little while. I'm going to ask you one final question.
I've enjoyed it immensely.
Yeah, well, so have I. One final question. Given all that has happened, come February 11th, Ralph Thorne wins the election.
Wow.
Tell me, how will Ralph Thorne feel, and what will be his motivation going forward?
It would be a question of if we win the election, because I'm not alone. There are 30 of us. So if we are to win, it's 30. And if we lose, well, we continue to live our lives. But if we win, we try to be a good, honest, just government. I've told my colleagues, honesty, integrity, decency, and courage. And the minute you cannot subscribe to those virtues, I'm sorry, you cannot be a part of a government with me. At my age, Andrew, I have never been wealthy, and I've found happiness without great wealth. And I basically like to pay my bills. And at this stage, I don't want great wealth. Corruption comes when people go into politics as a money-making expedition. That is not me. And if there's anybody who is with me who sees the political enterprise as a money-making enterprise, I'm sorry, they cannot be a part of it. And I feel satisfied that I have managed to cultivate a culture of people who understand that politics must be related to elevating the lives of people, and it is not a personal expedition, it is not a personal engagement in which you seek to become a celebrity or in which you seek to become wealthy. As I said, at my age, not interested in wealth, not interested in great wealth. I'm interested in fulfillment, and you may be surprised to hear this, but I'm interested in doing God's will. That's
well, I know that you are a
in.
spiritual being, Ralph.
Not devout Christian, so don't get fooled. I'm a sinner too.
Being,
yeah, I'm a spiritual being. Yeah. The more people I
brilliant.
meet, Andrew, you recognize the spirit. Look, I'm coming into contact with people, and I used to hear the old people saying, "Ma, my spirit take to him." It's happening to me. I meet people, and immediately, spirit takes to them. The old people were right, you know.
They always are. They always are.
Not to say that you and I are old people.
Well, we are almost there, my friend.
Almost there.
Well, thank you so much. This has been One on One with Ralph Thorne. I'm Andrew Seeley.